think I'm doing that one tonight.
Okay.
I'll ask.
Okay, thank you.
Not sure, but I'll take some of the. Oh, I can get up, but
Huh?
I need for you to get up. Sorry.
That's all right. My second time, so I'm
Oh,
following your lead, whatever.
That means you're an expert.
Uh-huh.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Brave folks are coming out because we know there's supposed to be a tornado watch over one. It hasn't our area yet.
What?
So we're going to tail to the very end. With the wind raised above the brook, we'll still be saying once upon a time. Okay? Thanks for coming out. Welcome to the Indy Story Slam presented by Freetown Village and Story, Indiana, and sponsored by Maestro Organized Media Partner WFII. My Celestine Bloomfield. I'm your MC for tonight. Our topic tonight is 4. I hate to see it spelled out F-O-U-R because it could be F-O-R, could be F-O-R-E. You know what I'm saying? The only thing is we got rules. It has to be a true story. Although I often say, unless we see your nose start to grow, how will we know? As long as you give it to us in first person, we'll be all right. It should be no longer than 5 minutes. If it is, we don't mind you keep on talking. But our time people back in the back, Stanley, he's going to raise his hand to let you know you're at 4-minute mark. And you can talk to 6 minutes if you want to, but we're going to take off some points. Our theme is 4. You have to tell it from your heart, from your memory. No notes, no cell phones. I will confiscate them. That's the teacher in me. I'd like to thank our judges, our timekeepers, our scorekeepers. I like Shannon for making me look good on the streaming. I'd like to thank Samantha for taking care of everything. You found those blank slips in the back so you can sign up. Do you have a story, Greg, that you want to start us off with? Like what time we had to clean somebody's house? Okay, Ted from Maestro Organizer.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. On your table is the theme. I'm an organizer. I'm really a composer and a conductor, but on my side gig, I'm an organizer and I declutter everybody. So, number 1, here's 4 tips. Number 1, find a space you want to get rid of things and declutter and look at it and imagine what's it going to be like. And look at it and start small. It might be a drawer. It might be a corner. Don't start with the garage. Don't start with the basement. Don't start with the attic. Start small. Number 2, grab a box or a laundry basket. Anybody have a laundry basket still? We do. All right, grab one of those. Number 3, go to that little space and get rid of anything that doesn't belong there. All right? Doesn't go there, put it in the box. You can put the box away or you can take those items and take them where they're going to be. If this is overwhelming, give me a call. I will be glad to help you. And I just helped a gentleman yesterday. His partner passed away. And there's a whole house full of all of his husband's items. So what's things to do? And so that's my 4. Is that all right? That's good. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Enjoy tonight.
My connection is 4. I could be the next bionic woman. Got 2 new knees, just 1 new hip. Numerous back surgeries. But if I just had 1 more replacement, that'd be 4. Okay? I'm working on it. Now, lime green basket is right here, but before I start drawing names, what's going to happen is this. You are going to sit back there and say, I don't have a story. But what's going to happen is somebody's story will remind you of something that happened to you. And you're going to come out there and you're going to tell a story. And it's going to be all right. You might next Story Slam. The theme for April is food, Fool. And we will be at Somos Familia Mexican restaurant, 12 West 86th Street. I got a lot of more commercials to get between the tellings, but right now, you'll be reaching for this lime green basket and pull out a name. All guess who came first. Shannon Singer. Come on now.
Sorry.
They'll let you know it's not great.
So I had a traumatic New Year's. Instead of giving my nephews Christmas presents, I say, how about I take you into Chicago and we'll do something fun? And they love that idea. My family live in Northwest Indiana. So we took the train in and I took them to this museum. It was a museum that was like the Museum of Illusion, where things aren't as they appear. You know, one kid is like, if you stand this far back, you look small and big, and you take pictures, and it's like Instagram heaven. And then I was going to take them to lunch, and we walked down to this place called Elephant and Castle, and it was like a sports bar. And I was like, you guys are going to a bar, but they had a family section. So my three nephews and I are waiting, and so we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And I look at them and I'm like, we're gonna have to go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, let's just give it one more minute. So we finally got seated and we're eating. And we ate, and I never got up from the booth. I went to pay, my wallet was gone. And I was like, that's not possible. Did a hand up through the bottom of the booth and steal it from my purse? And I'm tearing the booth apart, and I'm looking through my jacket, their jacket, and now my phone's going off. My credit card is being used. They're trying to spend $2,700 at the Apple Store on Michigan Avenue. Now they're trying to spend $850 at Target in Streeterville. And I'm like, well, and it like part of me was like, this isn't possible. Here's proof that someone is using a card, someone has your wallet. And yet I'm still like, it's just not possible. So luckily I have one credit card on my phone and I was able to pay for lunch. And then it was just so jarring. I was like, how did this happen? I'm having to call and cancel them. In all, they used 4 credit cards. So how did this happen? I believe this happened, and I've had a lot of time to think about it. When we were waiting to be seated at the restaurant, looking back now, I felt like that 6th sense where someone was like too close to me and I had a backpack purse on. Okay, but here's the kicker. I never turned around to see the people behind me waiting as well. And at one point there was this fake, now looking back, I know it was fake. This child starts crying for no reason and just throws this mini tantrum. And I turned to look at the child, and that's when they unzipped my backpack, took my wallet, and then they walked down, it was a good mile, and walked down to the Apple Store. Luckily, of the 4 credit cards that they were trying to use, all of those transactions got, so I was like, ha! They did, unfortunately, almost $200 in cash, which is weird that I had that much cash. But, well, I got a scratchy for Christmas, and I won $50, and I'm like, I'm going to take that to Chicago. And then my sister gave me $40, which was lunch, and I had $40. So that's why I had so much cash in there. So they got that. So I was able to shut down credit cards, and then luckily the man on the telephone was like, you know, we're going to give you another, it hasn't been compromised, we're going to give it to you digitally so that you can get home. And that was a great idea. He was very calm. We were able to get home, and it was just so jarring, to say the least. But I will say, when I got back to Indianapolis, I was like, uh-oh, there was a fifth card in there. It was my HSA debit card, and they drained it at Walgreens. $67, but I was able to get that back. But I just think, you thought you were going to get an Apple iPhone 16. It's hydrogen peroxide and Band-Aids for you, you jerks.
The nerve, right? The nerve. Thank you very much. Now, if shift your memory fails away, you might want to think of another story that you want to tell. I'm all right with that. You might want to know that Sunday, March 30th, from 4 to 6 p.m., If These Walls Could Tell, Hotel Elkhart will be presented at Indiana Landmarks by Josh Holman. It's going to be a great show. You know, this is in conjunction with the awarding of the cup for the best renovation or restoration. This hotel is in Elkhart, and the program is in partnership with Storytelling Arts of Indiana at Indiana Landmarks, and they have a to die for afterwards with nice treats. So I suggest you go. But now don't forget, Saturday, April 12th at 7 p.m. is our Talk of the Town, featuring Big Sky songs and stories with Bridget and Johnny Reedy. And you might have heard them before. They were here with us, was it last year, I think it's 2 years ago? And it's sponsored by the family of Michael O'Brien, Tube Processing, Paradox Dental, and the National Bank of Indianapolis. I'll tell you some more about that, but after I reach into my lime green basket and pull out a name. And the name is Chaplain. Come on, baby.
So Paul wrote a letter to the Philippians. It's 4 chapters. Who writes letters with chapters? And in the last chapter, chapter 4, there's this verse. I think it's verse 8. Sorry. It's the one like, whatsoever things are true and honest, whatsoever things are just or pure or lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. It's kind of a popular verse. I mean, it must be if I'm agnostic and I know it. And if you've been exposed to a certain critical level of Rascal Flatts, you almost can't help thinking what you get if you play Philippians 4 verse 8 backward. Like you sort of spend a lot of time thinking about things that are base or sordid or ugly. Kind of like my mom, who has like her social media feeds and all the news she consumes all like tailored so that whenever anything base or sordid or ugly or disreputable anywhere in the country happens, she gets notified immediately so she can think on those things. And it's not just my mom. There's somebody I know right up in Lafayette where I'm living now who, like, to have in the car driving through town is like having a personal tour guide pointing out everyone who is drunk, everyone who might be homeless, every building someone might have OD'd. These are not the only things that happen in my town. There may be someone the same day giving somebody a hand. There might be a neighborhood that has a new business in it just opened up. These are not the things she sees. Sort of like my mom, who always needs to make sure that I am up to date and fully briefed on all of the base and sorted things that she's been notified about since the last time we spoke. And more than that, these notifications pile up on her phone so much that it gets hard to use the phone, and she starts to miss messages from real people. And to deal with that, she will sometimes ask a friend or a relative, someone a little more electronic savvy, to take her phone and just delete like hundreds and hundreds of texts until they get back to something that came from a real person. And sometimes the person who gets to do that is me. And I'm telling you this so when I get to the part of the story where you're wondering what in the world I was doing all up in the texts on my mom's phone, you will have the answer. But I don't want the whole story to be about sorted things. And like one completely non-sorted thing that's awesome is my mom recently got back in touch with a really good old friend of hers. This is someone I remember being around a lot when I was growing up. And in fact, her daughter, Jody, was about my age and had the distinction of being the first girl ever kissed me. She was totally messing around. It was totally clear she was messing around. It was also pretty awesome anyway. And about the time I was in college, they moved away and communications lapsed after a while. And thanks to Facebook and People Finder and whatever, my mom found both of them in the last couple of years, and she's been back in touch. And that's how it worked out that one of these times I was deleting hundreds of texts from my mom's phone until I got back to something real. I came to this reply where my mom had texted Jody some hair on fire recent notification about something base and sorted that had just happened. And Jody replied and said, I don't read a lot of links like that. But here I've copied out for you Philippians 4 verse 8. And I looked at that on my mom's phone there and I thought, damn, still pretty awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, chap. Now listen. You might want to know what's happening with Freetown Village. Tomorrow, Thursday, March 20th, at 6 p.m. Conversations in Indiana's African American history at Indiana Landmark Center takes place. Join us for our monthly conversation with historians, researchers, and educators as we discuss topics related to Indiana's Black heritage. Our speaker will be Nichelle Hayes, Interim Executive Director of the Hurd and Wright Foundation. The event is free, but I suggest you go online and register. Reserve your ticket. The doors will open at 5:30 p.m. at Indiana Landmarks, 1201 North Central Avenue, the same place where Josh Holman will be March 30th. So if you go, you can practice your drum run. Anyway, I'm going to reach into this lime green basket and pull out another name. Dominique Dumor. Okay. Is it Dumornay? Yes. Hi, Dominique.
I have to start by saying I filled out the form. This is my first time here. So I just thought I was putting my question. I was just signing up. I didn't realize I had to tell a story. But alas, I have a story. So in 2003, the year started off and I was single. And you know, I lived in New York, and then eventually I moved to New Jersey. And you know, I was spending a lot of time with my church friends, and I was, you know, I'm a native New Yorker, so when you move over to New Jersey, it's like you're a traitor. And so a lot of people said, oh, you're a traitor now. You don't, you know, you're not a native New Yorker anymore. You moved to New Jersey. So anyhow, and during this time, I went on a few dates and I met this really nice guy. But I definitely enjoyed being single and just, being able to travel when I wanted to travel, do what I wanted to do. And eventually what happened was I started liking this said guy. And I was thinking about it and I wasn't quite sure how things were going to work out. But, I talked to my friends and my friends were like, oh, he's a really good guy. And they were like, no, I've known him for a really long time. And I was like, I don't know. But then I thought my mom was very specific to me. She's like, listen, if you ever date a guy, don't happen to date, said kind of guys. And, I was a little panicked because every day, at the time I was around 27. And every time I came home, my mom was like, so, did you meet a nice guy? So, did you meet a nice guy? I said, Mom, if you ask me one more time, I'm going to pop. And she goes, but did you meet a nice guy? So anyway, I had a great time in Jersey. I was making some new friends. And this said guy, eventually we went on a few dates. And I remember it was in February. And in February, I happened to call my mother and she kept hanging up on me. And I'm like, surely it was an accident. My mom never hangs up on me. I called her again. And I was like, Mom, do you realize you click? Okay. So finally, I called my dad. I was like, what is going on? Mom keeps hanging up on me. And he said, oh, it's really a rough day. Be patient with her. She'll be okay. In any case, that evening, I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on with my mom, but I was just so happy. Go out and I have a date this night. And on this night, you'll never guess what happened. Anybody have a clue?
Messed it up. You ran into your parents.
Actually, no, I didn't. That night.
Oh, wow.
That night. And eventually my single went from being single to being 4 because when we got married, it was him and I, and he had kids. So I went from being single to being a family of 4. And that is my story.
And that was a happy ending.
What about your mother?
But I want to know why your mama was hanging up on you. Oh, I love it. I love when people know they can't keep a secret. Okay. I love it. I mean, I really tried to think of stories that had 4s in them. But even fairy tales, they start off with 3 brothers usually. Sometimes we have 7 sisters, 7 dancing princesses. But I was at a loss to find anything with number 4. So I said, I'm going anyway. So keep thinking. Something's going to pop up. Something that happened to you in the 4th grade. I don't know. But anyway, Noel Bewley is going to tell us his story about 4.
In 2008, my kids wanted a dog. I did not want a dog. I was getting my hip replaced. But in 2000, we got a puppy. Then my wife went back to work. My kids went back to school. And I got a dog. But I was in a hospital bed in the family room, and we had to build ramps. So this little white Bichon could climb up and get on top of me. So then I could feed it, and we built ramps so I could get places. Well, it was a wonderful dog and turned out to be my dog. We like to take walks, my wife and I. So we took the little Bichon puppy on walks. But the vet said, 3 and 4 mile walks, that's not a Bichon walk. You need to not do that. And so we gave up on those. And so we got a little leash that extends and we walked around the block. And then we worked up to walking around 2 blocks. Our dog would stop every hydrant, every mailbox, smell it, pee on it. It just were not much exercise for us. We decided to go on a 3-block walk. So we started walking and the dog ran out in front of us. It had that extension thing that vets say don't use. The German Shepherd came out of the house and we recognized the German Shepherd and we had seen it often and walked by it. But in this case, it was not on a leash. And it ran out and it grabbed Bo by the leg and picked him up and shook him like a rag doll. And after I shepherded and fell on my face, him to me. He won't care if he's 3 or 4-legged. So we did. And they took his whole right front leg, including the scapula. He could not stand up and he couldn't do much of anything. And then a week later, he's running around just like the vet said. He doesn't know he has 3 legs. He just knows how to move now. And so this little 4-legged dog became a 3-legged dog. A 3-legged dog that chased geese out of our backyard, that ran all over the place and did what we call the Bichon Blitz, which would be after getting a bath, he would run around in circles. And he could do that with 3 legs. And we had a stool set up so he could jump up on the couch and sit on the back of the couch and put his chin on my shoulder, just like he always did. And he lived 10 more years, from 4 to 14. And he just died in 2019, which was the saddest thing. But geese do not come in our yard. Even to this day, we don't have to chase geese out of our yard because he's still there. Thank you very much.
I just have one word to say. Oh, that was a wonderful story. Thank you so much. I'm looking around the room and some of y'all have not signed up. And I know you're thinking now, oh, I got a story I could tell. It is not too late. She's got these empty slips, these blank slips. You can fill it out. We'll put it in the lime green basket. And sooner or later, we will call your name. I reached into the lime green basket. And this time my teller is Tracy Wynn. Come on down.
I'll let you know later.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay. Okay, this is the story. The number 4 and the number 8 are supposed to be fate and destiny numbers. If you know anything about numerology. And when I was growing up, I used to always say I wanted to have 4 boys when I grew up. Thought I wanted to have 4 boys because my Aunt Peaches had 4 boys, and I thought it would be so fun to have 4 boys. Well, I got married, and I had what people call Irish twins. My 2 boys they still are, 12 months and 2 weeks to the day apart. When I say 12 months and 2 weeks to the day, their birthday falls on the same day of the week every year, along with my husband and I. Every year falls on the same day. So after having these 2 boys, I thought, okay, that 4 boy thing is out the window. No, because I had those 2 boys so close together and they were so rambunctious. Okay, we had everything down to a science, my husband and I. There were 4 of us. He took 1 boy and I took 1 boy. So we both worked full time. So he get 1 dress, I get 1 dress. Went off. 3 years after my youngest son, I became pregnant. And back then, you didn't know what you were going to have. So I started praying for a girl. I prayed. I'm serious. I prayed. I kept my Bible under my pillow. My daughter knows that story. I prayed for a girl. And you couldn't, the sonograms now, you can see the baby and everything. But back then, I think I come from another century. Back then, the sonograms weren't very clear. You couldn't see everything. The only way you could find out what you were having was the amniocentesis test. And who was going to do that except people who were, had some type of trauma or needed it too expensive and it was very painful. So that wasn't happening. I can remember when I was pregnant, we went to get some furniture. We needed a new dining room set. And I was so in the mindset that, it's just 4 of us. It's just 4 of us. When the man asked us, how many chairs do you need? And I said, 4. And my husband said, 5. And I said, 5? He said, the baby, Tracy. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, the baby. Okay, we got 6, because that's an even number. Well, the day of the delivery, we're there. He's there. He didn't have to run out and throw up this time. He's there at the foot of the table with the doctor, and here's the baby coming. And he sees all this hair, and he said, oh, it's going to be another boy. And then the doctor said, how do you know? And I'm like, I'm trying to have a baby here, and they debating, okay, let's get this baby out of me. And the next thing that wiggled on out of me was a baby girl. So I got my girl. These boys were not going to outnumber me. So now we raised these kids. Yes, that 3rd one threw everything all off because we had it down to a science. Now we got this extra one. I was used to 4 people laundry. Now I got 5 people laundry. So got them through school, graduated them all through college, and got the youngest out. She was 21. And my husband and I thought, empty nesters if she moves out. Yay, yay. Well, the universe, not more than a year after she graduated college, the universe whispered to me, you said you have 4. And since you didn't know back then how it worked, you said boys, but you wanted 4 children. 2 years I had dreamed about a baby girl, and what was bestowed upon me but a baby girl. So where there were 3, because of fate and destiny, there are now 4. And the extra chair goes for the mother and father.
My mother always said, you gotta be careful what you ask for.
Exactly.
That was lovely. Thank you so much. I'm still mad at my parents and they gone on to glory because I just had 2 brothers. I've been wanting a sister forever. Still don't have one. And I'm old as dirt. Listen, anybody out there thinking about a story you want to tell? There's still time to sign up. We'll put your name in this lime green basket. Listen, I don't know if you know this or not, but Storytelling Arts has a fellowship. It's called the Frank and Katrina Basile Storytelling Emerging Stories Grant. And you can, if you're an emerging storyteller, you want to think of a theme or a topic you want to explore, they will pay you to develop a story. You get to present it to the community. So go to our website, check it out, see if that's something you might be interested in doing. As I slip over to the lime green basket and pull out Linda Jones.
Hi there. First time. Very excited to be here. I was thinking about four, and you gave me a great segue because this is a story about what happened to me in the fourth grade. And you actually said that. So, fourth grade, it was awesome. I loved the fourth grade. So I lived in a small suburb outside of Syracuse, New York, and we had a brand new school that had just been built in our neighborhood. It was awesome. I ended up with the best teacher that there was in the fourth grade. His name was Mr. Pendergast. And back then, you didn't have male teachers in the elementary schools. This guy was awesome. I mean, we really, really, really enjoyed him. My best friend lived across the street. I had a pool in my backyard. We did live in a small house. It was I guess they call them tri-levels. So there was like a part here, a part here, and a part here. And it had 3 bedrooms. Well, the only problem with that was my mom and dad had 1 bedroom. Me and my 2 sisters had 1 bedroom. And my 3 brothers had another bedroom. I'm actually an Irish twin. From the story right before us. My brother and I are 1 year and exactly 1 week apart. So if you're doing the math, that's 8 of us in this 3 house. Okay, so school's going great. I've got this, just fabulous teacher, fabulous life. Mom gets pregnant. Yep. Number 7 is on the way, and there is no room. So what happens? We move. We end up moving to Syracuse, New York, because in Syracuse, you could actually get an older home, big older home, with lots of bedrooms for not as much money. It was great. So I'm kind of excited about this move because I'm going to get my own bedroom. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm in the 4th grade, I'm excited about this. So we moved. First day of school. We walk to school. I am shown into the principal's office, and they're like, okay, this is your new classroom. This school, our new house is 100 years old. This school is 100 years old. Okay, it is not a new school, unlike my last school in the suburbs that was brand new, which was really awesome. So they walk me to a new classroom. I meet my new teacher. It is not a man. It's this little old lady, right? And the only thing she says to me when I walk into the room is, if it's the laboratory, raise your hand. She puts me in a seat. I'm like, that's interesting. We get to do science experiments whenever we want. Okay, well, I'm thinking, this is awesome. All I got to do is raise my hand. This school's going to be the best, okay? 4th grade is turning out to be the best year because I love science. I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to do all these experiments. It's going to be great. So I'm sitting in my seat, and I see people raise their hand. They leave the room. They come back. I'm thinking, what the heck? They sure do have short experiments. They're not going very long. But I'm thinking in my mind, they must have had this already set up. They're just checking on it, right? They're just checking on what's going on. So I'm sitting there, okay. Unfortunately, it's getting to be lunchtime, and I'm like crossing my legs. Oh my gosh. So the teacher comes back to me and says, what's the matter? I gotta go to the bathroom. She goes, I told you, just raise your hand and you can use the lavatory. And I said, but I don't have any science experiments right now. I don't know what to do. And she goes, no, just go. Well, as it turns out, in my old school, it was a brand new school, every room had its own bathroom. You just went to the bathroom right in the room. There's a door and it said restroom on it. This school, no. So there's two doors, one to the right, one to the left of the teacher up in front. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. So I run up to the front, I grab the door on the right and open it up, and it's actually a hallway to another classroom. I'm like, oh crap, close the door, run back, get to the other door, open it up. It's a coat closet. And she's like, just get out, just go. So I run out of the room and I find the bathroom and I come back, and to this day, I finally learned lavatory means bathroom. It does not mean laboratory. And that was my 4th grade.
Thanks, Linda. That's hilarious. Z and not B. Well, I hope you did get a chance to do some experiments. Well, I know some of you are sitting back there thinking, oh, wow. That just reminded me of something awful that happened to me in the 4th grade, or exciting that happened to me in the 4th grade. Or maybe I skipped the 4th grade. I don't know, but there's still time if you think about a story that you want to tell. Because our prizes are cash, right? And we'll pay you today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to reach over here into this lime green basket and pick out a name. Because Janet Pillsbury is getting ready to tell us a story.
Sorry, should we wait a little bit?
Take it off.
It's okay. We'll make it work. I'll just jump. Houses are containers for stories for the people that live inside and carry their dreams. And dreams, as we know, can be sunny and bright or cloudy and dark. The Hazel House on Sherrill Court was a dream to start a life in Indianapolis, a dream to start a family. Tim and I were a young couple on a new adventure, and after 3.5 years of infertility, had decided to adopt. We chose an adoption agency, we filled out all of the paperwork, and then we waited. And as part of that wait, we looked for a house to become a home where we could raise our family. And I remember the day so clearly when I was driving through the streets of Carmel, feeling almost cold, and I landed in a cul-de-sac in front of a Stone Ranch house with a for sale by owner sign in the front yard. A phone call led me to Monica's kitchen table where we talked for hours like old friends, and we agreed it was meant to be. A sales agreement was signed, and 2 days later was a flurry of phone calls for mortgage, inspections, insurance, and all of the house things. And at 11 a.m. was an unexpected phone call from the adoption agency that there was a possible match. Yes, we said, show our profile to the couple. At 5 o'clock was a call from that agency again saying the baby was a girl. The birth mother was dilated 7 centimeters and we should leave for the hospital immediately. At 7 o'clock, Lily was born. An answer to a dream for sure. Our baby girl was there. We brought her home and she was 2 days old and everything was happy. Backyard neighbors moved in. Hazel, who was a little girl Lily's age, the two of them became best of friends. Hours of playing in the sprinklers and hand clap games and tea parties. They had a blast.
3 years later was the adoption of our son. And then the darkness began to edge around the dream. The cracks in our marriage that had been there all along began to widen. Tim became unpredictable. The slightest things would provoke his anger and would send the children and I into hiding, afraid. Long, desperate conversations, tipping on eggshells became the norm in our house. Desperation, anxiety, depression moved in. The second house on Smithfield was a dream to make things better. The bigger, fancier house would make him happy, right? Moving to Carmel would make things better, right? No. We knew the moment we walked into the first house, that was going to be the house he wanted. It was $70,000 over our budget that we had agreed on, but it didn't matter. He wanted that house and he would have what he wanted. Our marriage was hanging by a thread, so I suggested that we rent for a year before making such a big financial decision. His response? He went to the closing without me. He signed the papers without me. That was in September. In November, 2 friends took me to Prevail, the domestic violence support agency in Noblesville. And there I learned about emotional abuse and how that could be even more difficult and dangerous than physical abuse. I learned about the cycles of narcissism. I learned to find my voice. I learned to have courage. I learned to set boundaries. And in February, I filed for divorce. 6 months later, I signed the papers. On the third house, the only house, I signed the closing papers. That 2,200 square foot house was mine, all mine. And I was so proud. I remember the first night closing and locking the door and exhaling for the first time in a long time and feeling safe. The kids and I explored the woods across the street. We played in the creek in the backyard. We got to know our neighbors and happiness returned. For a while, I'd researched the house. I'd made my very best to make the best decision I could for the children and I. But what I didn't realize was that the crime rate was growing very quickly. 2 blocks away, a store manager was murdered. Our front door was kicked in the middle of a sunny afternoon. A student in my school stole his grandfather's gun and robbed the store across the street from the school while my daughter was in a classroom downstairs, and we no longer felt safe anymore. The fourth house came to us literally in a dream. Fortunately, I'd been able to sell the house for $30,000 more than I paid for it 2 years before, allowing us to be able to move. At the time, though, it's very competitive. There were multiple offers on houses. Buyers were waiving their inspections. It was a feeding frenzy for those of us trying to buy a house. And it was the last weekend. If we did not find a house this weekend, we were going to be homeless or have to move back in with my ex temporarily. And then that last weekend, Mike and Kristen had their house all ready to sell. And the night before the listing went live, Kristen had a dream, a vivid dream that a single mother with 2 children were going to offer a certain amount of money for their house. The next day, they had multiple offers, people offering them more than what they had asked. And when they saw one offer, my offer, of a single mom with 2 kids who offered them exactly what she had dreamed, she knew the house was to be for us. She told me later that when she saw the offer, she began to cry because she knew that it was our house. My crew of 2 and I moved into that fourth house. We've lived there for the past 5 years, beginning to dream and be happy again.
Thank you for that beautiful story. I still can't think of a story with the number 4 in it. I've been working on it all day and all night. We'll see what happens before the show. We have great hope or expectation. But there's still time if you think of a story that you want to tell. As I pull another name out of this lime green basket. Because right now, Denise Newsom is going to tell us a story. Come on, Denise. I saw you when you came in, girl.
A story about a number 4.
Four, anything but four. 4 pigeons, 4 peas in a pie. Just 4 minutes come to you.
Okay. First time.
Yay.
The number 4. And so, twice I've heard German twins, right? Irish twins. So I'll start with the Irish twins. My sister and I are Irish twins. We were 11 months and 2 weeks apart. So for 2 weeks out of the year, we were the same age. We slept in the same bed all our lives. And then when she turned 16, she got married. So I felt abandoned when she got married. But long story, fast forward, I went away to college and she stayed home. So that's the Irish twins part. Anyway, my sister passed in January 23. So I really had to let it go that time. But number 4, I am from a family of 10. My mom had 3 girls, and my dad said, you got to try one more time for a boy. So she had one boy, Lester, then she had another one, Robert, and she had another one, Harry, and another one, Gary. Now, if you meet them, you would think they were the coolest and fun, non-violent guys you ever want to meet. But that wasn't the reality when mom and dad wasn't at home. So what they would do with the younger girls, because there's 3 girls, 4 boys, 3 girls, the bottom 3. So I have a baby sister, not a baby, but she's 3 years younger than me. So they would fix the dining room where it was a wrestling match. And then while mom and dad was gone, they would make bets on who would win the wrestling match between the 3 youngest girls. So I had to learn very quickly how to pin my sisters so that I could be the one that was the winner. So the boys, this happened every week. And they even would invite friends. They would bet money. And here we are, we're this small, and we're wrestling for these people that while my parents are gone. So that's the way we grew up. And then when we went to school, I continued with the wrestling part of it. So every time my sister got in trouble, my Irish twin, she never fought. She would say, if you say something to me, my sister Nisi will beat you up. And that's how we live. I got in a lot of fights because of wrestling matches. Because of my 2 younger sisters. And I had learned the art of wrestling. Some call it fighting. I called it wrestling. Because I didn't want to try and hurt nobody. I just wanted to play. It was play. So there's the Irish twins and there's the 4. That's all I got.
I knew you could do it. Anybody else? All right. Let me give you a commercial before I pull another name out of the basket.
What basket?
The lime green basket. The lime green basket. You think they will have some in the kitchen because they got margaritas. Listen, don't forget, next month we will be at Somos Familia Mexican Restaurant on 1268 West 86th Street. And the theme is food. FOOL, food. Don't forget, Sunday, March 30th, If These Walls Could Tell, Hotel Elkhart with Josh Holman at Indiana Landmarks.
It's Joss.
I'm
No
sorry,
H.
Josh Holman.
No, Joss, J-O-S. There's no H, just FYI.
I think he has something on his website that says it's pronounced Josh.
Really? Yes.
Okay. Anyway, also at the Indiana Landmarks tomorrow at 6 p.m., Conversations in Indiana's African American History at the Indiana Landmark Center. The conversation will be with our speaker, Nichelle Hayes, Interim Executive Director of Hurston Wright Foundation.
It's 2 doors.
Sorry. Sorry.
And the event is free, but we'd like for you to register online, please. And the doors open at 5:30.
Okay.
1201 North Central Avenue. You also might want to remember that our Talk of the Town is Saturday, April 12th, featuring Bridget and Johnny Reedy, Big Sky Songs and Stories. But right now, I'm going to reach into the lime green basket and pull out another name. And this teller is Samantha Powell.
So I am the mother of 2. I know it's hard to believe. Wait, no. But anyways, I recently saw an influencer on Instagram say that motherhood or just parenting in general brings out an anxiety you didn't even know you had. It reaches deep down there and it pulls out the most intrusive thoughts that you could ever imagine. Now, I have been dealing with anxiety on a normal basis since I was yay high. So when my first daughter was born, coincidentally in February, which is, if you don't know, Girl Scout cookie season, she's a great lover of the trees. I was so worried that every time I ate a tag along, I would refuse to hold my daughter. I would run to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and wash my hands before I went back to hold her because I was afraid she had a peanut allergy. We do not have any peanut allergies in my family whatsoever. So that just kind of gives you a glimpse into my little postpartum anxiety adventure, to say the least. Now, about a year or so later, I was doom scrolling, as they say, on my phone. See, I'm younger than you probably thought. Doom scrolling. I was doom scrolling on my phone late at night while nursing my daughter, and I came across this tragic story of a little boy who was at Disney World, one of my most favorite places ever, who had been eating popcorn. And just by chance, a piece of the popcorn had gotten into his lung, which caused an infection. He ended up in the hospital. He did survive, so I'll say that. He did survive. But the mom was just talking about how traumatic it was. And I just kept thinking, no popcorn ever for my daughter. Unfortunately, about a year later, we were sitting down at a restaurant, one of our favorites, and she was into solids at this point, and they put down a bucket of popcorn, which is one of my favorite parts of this restaurant in particular. And she says, "Me? No." "Me?" I said, "No." She says, "Why?" And I said, Can't till you're 4. 4, sorry, you gotta wait." My husband looks at me, and so we convinced her that if you've ever heard of Pirate's Booty, which is kind of like that, like foamy fake popcorn, we convinced her that that is the under 4 years old popcorn for America, I guess. We call it JoJo's popcorn, just for her. She deals with that, time and time again. Popcorn, yeah, JoJo's popcorn, not 4. Well, this past February, my daughter turned 4. And as I am planning this extravagant birthday party, because she insisted on having a Princess Wicked Disney World Halloween theme birthday party, I am pulling out these all-nighters trying to bust out this party to remember, because I like to make birthday parties big. Unfortunately, it wasn't on her actual birthday, so she turned to me and said, "So what are we doing on my actual birthday?" And I panicked, and I said, "Well, what do you want to do on your actual birthday?" She goes, "I want to go to the restaurant with the popcorn."
And it occurs to me that 2+ years later, she remembers she's allowed to have popcorn. I've since then been working on my anxiety. I went through my strategies that my therapist and I worked really hard on. I said, okay, once you're legally 4, you can have this popcorn. So we ended up not going to that restaurant. We went to see Paddington in Peru, which I highly recommend. And I said, okay, what do you want to eat? This is at one of those sit down, like the restaurant type theaters. And she looks at me, she goes, popcorn? And I kid you not, the joy on this little girl's face when she took that first handful of popcorn is something that I will never forget. I would say it was the equivalent of a preschooler's 21st birthday.
You know that's a smart little girl, right?
That's scary.
Listen, do I have anyone else who wants to tell a story with the number with 4 in it? But before I leave the room, there'll be time for another tale. Y'all want me to go through the commercials again?
Sure.
Listen, I cannot say enough times about the talk of the town. That's our big fundraiser. Tons of desserts. Tons of desserts to die for. Bridget and Johnny Reedy are from Montana, and you'll love their stories. You already heard, if you were there this past Saturday and heard Mo Reynolds, heard her talk about Montana. I heard some stuff about Montana that shook my world. Especially that sipping dip. Restaurant. Can't wait to go there. At any rate, Thursday, March 20th, Conversations in Indiana's African American History at the Indiana Landmark Center. Please go online and reserve your ticket. And we have first, second, and third place prizes. Okay. Remember our theme for next month is fool, F-O-O-L. You know, this seems to me there's a British dish called fool. Look it up. That might be a story too. I'm waiting for the results.
I can't find if it's Josh or Joss.
I've been calling him Josh all these years. Okay, I need some ice water. Or some ice. Ma'am, can I have a glass of ice water, please?
I have a water bottle next to her.
Give me that water, please.
I've always believed in terms of
I'm coming. Marguerite and
Who's not with your hand? Thank you. honey.
Yes, thank you.
no, this isn't some dystopian
People that watch at one point I had. They're also yellow slips. We're gonna have a drawing for free tickets.
I was like, I knew that was like.
We're waiting for the scorekeepers to tally up. It's like my hearing left too.
Entryways to South Indiana Way. The downtown bridge has also been renamed the Josh and Coleman.
Maybe it is Josh. I apologize.
It's on the record now.
Our
Yes.
third place winner is Dominique. Our second place winner is Janet. And our first place winner is Samantha. Congratulations. Couple up a little bit for this second. I look forward to seeing you next month. And Ronan's gonna do that drawing, because I'm gonna sit in a lower chair right now.